Hello, everyone. I'm Sherry Berger, The Right Reflection. Joining me today is Keith Seland. He's the author of the Humaniverse Guide series of books that explore the history of ufology and man's desire to understand the how, what, why, when, and where of the natural world. 3 books in the series are available now, and Keith currently is researching petroglyphs for his planned 4th book, which we will discuss a little bit today. Hi, Keith. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Sherry. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Tell me a little bit about where you are right now for our audience so they know what you're doing.
Okay, during this taping, thanks to digital technology, I'm in Flagstaff, Arizona. I've been touring a few petroglyph fields for my tour here right now. So I'll be heading back east into New York probably in a few days, early next week.
Okay, awesome. Well, one of the things that we wanted to talk about, I understand that you are going to be speaking at the upcoming UFO Festival in Roswell. You're scheduled to present there on your petroglyph research project findings. What can people expect if they attend one of your sessions?
Yeah, I've got from what the organizers at the Roswell UFO Festival have presented to me, I'm going to be talking a lot. Got a lot of speaking hours lined up, and the nature of what I'll be talking about, I'll have just gotten back stateside from an expedition to Egypt just a couple of weeks before that. I'll be integrating some of that new learning and research into my speaking assignment, which will have to do and tie together some of our ancient civilizations, ways of communication, the universals that all of our ancient ancestors had developed and evolved in their cultures and whatnot. And then as starting to introduce an international flavor towards inspecting and adopting that information into my years-long research into Native American communications, rock, and it's not rock art. I really rail against anybody that says that it's art. It's a very sophisticated form of communication. And so my talks at Roswell will show my new assignment from Egypt integrated in with kind of educating the public about the thought processes, how our ancient ancestors developed their cultures, their forms of communications, their scribes and whatnot. And along these general subjects of the cosmos and spirituality, gods, deities, and extraterrestrial intelligences, which has been one of my lifelong research purposes, at least up to this point. So I'm going to be integrating all those subjects and starting to offer a worldwide perspective at the Roswell talks, but I also will be integrating a local flavor, so to speak. I've spent a couple of 3 years now in a lot of petroglyph fields in New Mexico, the Southwest, the Four Corners, Arizona, Utah, Colorado. And you mentioned, you asked me about where I am right now. I just revisited the Three Rivers, very famous site in central New Mexico. And so I will be integrating some local flavors into those talks at Roswell coming up especially.
And if people are interested in seeing some of what you're doing now, am I correct in that you're posting some videos to your social media accounts?
Yeah, Sherry, that's absolutely right. Yeah, as I go along, in fact, from Three Rivers and Petroglyph Monument and La Cieneguilla, where I was in the last few days. Yeah, people can follow kind of a video diary of mine. I take video snippets, and so you can check on my Facebook channel, The Humaniverse. And also I'll mention right now, introductory, my YouTube channel, which is also titled Keith Seland, The Humaniverse. But the Facebook is the daily diary of highlights of where I've been for that particular day or whatever. And a viewer can trace that back, going back a couple of years, because I've been doing the video snippet uploads for about 2 years now. And I'm also on Instagram.
Okay. Well, for our audience, we'll post links to your social accounts and to your YouTube with this video so that they can find them easier. And before we leave the subject of Roswell, can you tell us the dates of the event?
Yeah, Sherry. The Roswell UFO Festival traditionally has been around the 4th of July. This year, because the 4th is actually on a Tuesday, they do a weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and sometimes Monday. So this year will be June the 30th, Friday through July the 2nd. And I think there's some activity on the 3rd also as they prepare for the actual 4th of July holiday. So I've been, my attachments to Roswell go as far as dedication in my first book. I spent a lot of time at the International UFO Museum, and they have research library facilities there. So I've spent an awful lot of time there, and then interviewing local residents for my earlier publications and that. So the whole city of Roswell really rolls out the carpet. It's if not the most attended event of all of the conferences that I've attended in my 16-year career here in ufology. It's in the top handful of that, and they do a really good job. They integrate families into the whole weekend of activity. So if you're not constrained, but if you have the advantage of having a family with you on your trip to Roswell or whatever, there's a lot of activities for the kids also. So it's a really awesome time. I've been there very often, and I go back there all the time, and I always have a good time.
Awesome. You had mentioned while you were talking about what you'll be speaking about at Roswell that you mentioned 2 upcoming trips that you're taking, one to Egypt and one to Turkey. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing there and how that plays into your latest research?
Yeah, Sherry. Before Roswell, like I briefly mentioned, in a couple of weeks, I'll be heading over to Cairo. My friend, Robert Schock, he's a geology professor at Boston University. And his crew, I'm joining his crew. We'll be taking a 2.5-week tour into Cairo, including Giza, Abu Simbel, the Valley of the Kings, Thebes, which is also known today as Luxor, Karnak. So, and then as far down as Aswan in the Nubian territory, which if anyone is familiar with Egyptian history, the Nubians did play a very vital role in many aspects, including answering the questions, where did Egypt get all their gold from? Well, it came from the Nubian territories down there. So we're doing a deep dive there for a couple of weeks, and then I'll be at the Cairo Museum in Alexandria on the way back. And so taking that into Roswell, I'll be adapting some of the, again, my findings on universals as far as human behaviors from all our ancient civilizations. Then I'll be doing Roswell in a chronology sense in 4th of July. Then in a few weeks, the same crew with Robert Schock and myself will be touring into Turkey, which will include Göbekli Tepe, Karahan Tepe, the ancient city of Troy, Çatalhöyük, and Cappadocia, amongst a couple of other site locations there, with along the same purpose as I draw back to provide a little more of a general title, finding more of the universals amongst our ancient civilizations. At our current professional and academic thinking in our culture has defined that these ancient cultures were not supposed to have been able physically to visit or trade or communicate with each other. That's fairly quickly being eroded, and I'm going to add to that education to say that our ancient civilizations and cultures, the lowest common denominator in this whole subject of applying universal ways of thinking to our modern culture and having to do with spiritualism and the cosmos and extraterrestrial intelligences and our plans for preparing for ETI's arrival, is the lowest common denominator is that our ancients, all of them, were human beings. We are human beings. They were us. We are them. We're all the same. So in many important levels, our ways of thinking mirror and are the same as a lot of our ancient civilizations. And in their writings, their scribes, their petroglyphs, pictographs, and geographs and geoglyphs, that they were scribing and publishing what they saw, major events in their tribes, in their villages, in their times. And again, applying these subjects of the cosmos and spirituality and gods and deities and extraterrestrials, in which there's overwhelming and continuing evidence that these ancient cultures were visited by ETIs. And what I'm going to do is compare and contrast, apply that thinking and that documentation from our cultures forward to today in the effort to help our modern culture plan for not only the first contact, the SETI famous paradigm. I hate to use that word, but the paradigm of we're searching for a message and hey, we found a message. Well, what's going to happen after that? There's going to be communication, there's going to be potential relationships. Maybe even as far as an invitation for humankind to join a galactic community of some kind. Now, sometimes the term federation is being used. I don't like using that term because it sounds too political. This phenomenon is going to be more than political. It's going to be well more than scientific. It's going to help define our species' destiny in our future. So to circle back around and bring it back down to a short definition, I'm going to spend my time in Egypt and in Turkey and future expeditions to help bring more education into the process of the ufology aspects of gods, deities, the cosmos, and spirituality that they all experienced and that we do today, and our ETIs, the events and experiences that they had with them. And all of that is going to help provide a better compass for us, modern humankind, to help plan for not only the SETI's first message and how to reply to it, but what I call enduring global acknowledgement, EGA, and EGR, which is the enduring global relationships that are going to happen from contacts with ETIs.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about, I understand you have 3 books in your Humaniverse series. Tell us about the next installment that you're working on. We've already mentioned that it's going to involve some of your petroglyph research, but what can people expect from this 4th book?
Yeah, there will be eventually a 4th book. In between that, there might be, I'm planning on maybe doing a couple of research academic papers because the information that's coming in right now, and that I'll be spending a lot of time this year actually being out in the field. So I'm limiting my speaking assignments a little bit in the matter of time. So I'll probably be presenting this piecemeal because there's just so much correlation of experiences, observations, data, so to speak, and the developing of, in some major respects, my research into what I call adding to the Rosetta Stone, especially in the Native American languages of glyph writing and whatnot. So there's a lot of information there. So eventually there will be a book. There will probably be a couple of academic papers presented before that. So the book is going to be a fluid thing. I don't have a definite timetable or a demand from my publisher, deadline date, so to speak, on that. So this year is going to be spent collecting information and then curating it, applying some of it into my speaking assignments, presentations, and getting some of that information up on my both YouTube channel and the website, the Humaniverse, in preparation, moving down the road. It's going to be a long one towards publishing a new book. I expect that this subject of mine will become a lifelong journey.
Okay. So the other books that you have out now, where can people find those if they're interested?
They're all available from all of the major book and how I put this storefront and digital booksellers, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Apple, Google. They're in some independent bookstores also. So the best and easiest way for an interested reader is just keyword the Humaniverse, and basically everything that's involved in that particular subject comes up threadwise as under my name, under either the websites or the books. So the Humaniverse is basically the Humaniverse Guide is basically the title that is my brand.
Okay. And you mentioned your website. What else can people find on your website if they're interested in visiting that?
Yeah, the website, it's currently, as we record this, is under renovation, but it will be a major effort in, again, ufology, and it'll have my books up there also, but I will have a portfolio of past videos, interviews, and subject-related content. It will also feature a vast network library warehouse of article links, catalogs. What I mean by that is that, and especially from the field of academia, there's many research warehouse article portals with which I'll provide direct links on my website. So if there's an interested reader that has an interest or is asking a question about information on the subjects of whether they be science, education, technology, certainly I'll provide as short of a direct link to open up a field of resource availabilities for the user to help answer the particular question that they have at that session. So I'm trying to offer it as a dual ufology source and also as kind of an academic knowledge library digital type of resource.
Okay. And you mentioned it's under construction. When can people expect to see the new website ready?
Yeah, no, we're moving along really good, really fast. There's a lot to do with it. I expect it'll be done sometime in the summer, as far as getting everything on board.
And where can they find that? What's the website address?
Thehumaniverse.org or thehumaniverse.com. I've got both domains, so if you type in .com instead, and that's a popular thought process, it's automatically linked to the So either or will work.
Sounds good. We'll put that link in with this video as well to help people find it easier. Cool. And then we already know about Roswell. Can you tell us a little bit about any other conferences or events that you have happening this year where people might be able to connect with you?
Yeah, Sherry. Later on this year, like I said, the summer I'll be more overseas this summer than actually stateside. But coming up in the fall, I will be attending in Phoenix. I believe they will be in October at the UFO Congress in Phoenix. And then also in October, possibly my friend Susan Morgan, who runs a 3-day conference out of Sedona each year. So she's working on trying to get something going with that. But I do also have a confirmed speaking assignment. Again, I just found out also in October, back in Gambrills, Maryland. It's the Mysteries of Space and Sky conference in Bowie, which is a suburb of Baltimore. So I'll be there on the weekend of October 21st. So that'll be a pretty busy month for speaking assignments also. And then while it's still a little early yet, the conference organizers, the schedule is set throughout the year. So some are working right now for getting things going, and then others are a little bit further down the road. So those are all confirmed assignments that I have for right now. I might sneak, no, not might, I will probably be doing a little more glyph research back out here in Four Corners, Utah, Arizona area, Nevada, sometime later in the fall also. So, and from that, like we talked about before, I usually do my Facebook diary. So this year is going to be a lot of time spent data collection and integration into trying to decipher what our ancients knew about the cosmos and ETI connections, and then starting to apply those to our modern day, how will I put this, our preparations, or shall I say lack of it, preparations or plans for preparing for the ET first contact and global relationships and whatnot. That's part of my motivation. There's a great shortage. There's no one doing this, helping society plan for situations like that. Like I said, it's just the SETI. We're looking for a message. And I don't know how much help we're going to get from the government when the public keeps pressing them for UFO disclosure and whatnot. Slippery slope, to say the least. I don't know.
Well, one of your books in the Humaniverse Guide series addresses this particular topic, does it not? On the having the communication plan, not just looking for that signal, but having a plan to respond.
Yes, that's the theme of my current book, which has been out now for a few weeks at least. Anyways, the Humaniverse Guide, Will ET Talk With Us? And it takes a deep dive. Any preparations or plans, and I advocate that someone that's been a student or following the ufology profession all along, or government disclosure, whatever aspects of it, they'll come to find that there really hasn't been any kind of planning. Everyone's focused on disclosure, the existence portion of it. There's been a little bit of academic, and researcher writes an article, publishes it. There's a little bit of conversation for a short time about, planning or whatever. And then people also get the overwhelming impression that this is all a scientific endeavor. Well, I go into a deep dive in Will ET Talk With Us, that I express the point that this is far more than a scientific endeavor. And what I mean by that is that in moving towards a plan of action, so to speak, that we must be proactive in doing it. Our human species has a psychology propensity for being reactive by their nature, but in asserting for a proactive plan, I also assert that this must be a multidisciplinary effort. Everyone hears that it's just the government, it's just the military, and it's just we'll say NASA as a surrogate for science, so to speak. We'll say SETI in that way a little bit better. But this plan for our future as a species, and in some ways it's going to be existential, this plan is got to be multidisciplinary. It's got to involve our cultural institutions, our philosophy, our theology, our science, our business, economics. I mean, there's already some talk about current spacecraft wanting to mine nearby asteroids. There's the economic, there's the business aspect. So ET, when we finally get introduced with them, this is going to be way more than scientific. So why not do a proactive plan now involving all of our cultural institutions, kind of like a United Nations, so to speak, except without all the socio-political overtones with it, to help push this agenda and move it along, help prepare us for any constraints or problems that may happen down the road in terms of encounters, issues of any kind. We'll be able to do now simulations in a proactive effort to do simulations to help address those issues, make the plan better, so that there's when the ETI and the EGA, EGR actually happen, that we'll have dealt with some of these constraints, at least been able to maneuver past them and make a more successful transition into a post first contact society.
Okay. All sounds very interesting. Thank you very much for joining us today, Keith.
There.
Yeah, a lot to talk about, and maybe we can come back together after your trips to Egypt and Turkey to talk a little bit about what you've learned there. Follow up with that and talk about that research a little bit more when you get back.
Okay, awesome. I mean, I'll be looking forward. I'll even try when I'm in Egypt to do continue my Facebook diary stuff. I've been told that digital technology there can be pretty conducive. So yeah, viewers want to stay interested and tap in. I'll be in Egypt from the 21st of May until the 6th of June. So again, you can go on to the Humaniverse Facebook page, and I'll do blasts and see if the technology works, and that I can keep everybody in a real-time sense updated.
Sounds good. Everybody follow Keith on the humaniverse.org, his website, and we'll post links with this video to his social media accounts and his YouTube so you can follow along. Thank you again, Keith, for joining us.
Awesome, Sherry. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Bye now.
Okay, bye now. You have a good one. Take care.